All right. Today, we have with us Kevin. Hi, Kevin.
Hello, hello.
So great to have you here. Kevin and I have been on quite the journey together for years, I would say. And it has been incredible because we've had a lot of parallels. We both suffered from mental illness, and we both suffered from multiple sclerosis, and we both resolved mental illness and resolved uh, our symptoms with multiple sclerosis. We've significantly improved our symptoms through
Mhm.
food. And so it's been incredible. It's been incredible to watch you heal, and to let you be a witness to my journey. That's been incredible. But one thing that we've discovered is that food is so powerful and so amazing, but it does not heal everything. Um,
Right.
and and so you have discovered something so exciting that I just could not wait to share with my listeners what you have discovered and what you have gotten certified in. So please go ahead and let everybody know what it is that and kind of how you got into this modality.
Excellent. Well, as Emily had mentioned, we both had been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and you went pretty quickly over to the carnivore diet, right?
Yes.
I went the other way, and I went 8.5 years on a vegan diet and experienced increasing disability for those years. So I'm still healing my symptoms of MS. I'm making progress, um, but it's still work to do. So, as far as the modality here, I'll just let everybody know it's breath work, and in particular, a transformational breath work coaching. And so that's utilizing uh, more of a holotropic breath work. I mean, I started with the Wim Hof method, back in the day because it went and kind of would help to recharge me, but that was a very limited session each time, and then it was very limited results that came from that. So, and then because I was into breath work and I would follow along on breath work, so I got a notification that Breath Masters um, they had a person who's gone and donated to help people get certified as coaches. And
Wow.
so I responded to that. I filled out they're like, hey, why do you want to be a coach? And what's your experience with breath work? And so I gave them the quick rundown. And so I got a not 100%, but uh, a substantial scholarship to go
Wow.
and do the training there.
It's like the universe was just like, here you go, Kevin.
Right. Exactly.
Wow. So, you said the word holotropic.
Mhm.
What is that?
Holotropic breathwork is a modality of breathwork that was pioneered by Stanislav Grof back in the 60s and 70s. He's uh, a psychologist from what used to be Czechoslovakia, now the Czech Republic, and so he went and he pioneered his modality of doing the holotropic breathwork, which is a bit more intense than just the Wim Hof, count for 30 breaths and hold your breath and count for 30 breaths and hold your breath and all of that, which is really great. And I do not want to besmirch that in any sense of the word. Um, but the holotropic is more in depth, so it's going to be going between 45 minutes to 90 minutes. And so, and then of course there's the reintegration after that, because you don't just like, hey, I just did breath work for an hour and a half, I'm gonna head out, I'm gonna go run a mile or anything like that. So um, but the potential for going and doing deep healing with this, the holotropic, and this with breath masters, um, is just phenomenal, above and beyond anything else that I've ever experienced with breath work.
Yeah. And so how did you know that ahead of time? Did you have your own experience with holotropic breath work, or did you just study it?
Um, so, I got the scholarship to go and do the training in it. And along with that, Breath Masters has a 5-day challenge, 5-day breathwork challenge. And then there's another one, a 10-day breathwork challenge. And then they've got another product called the MB30, where you're going and doing a daily breathwork practice for 30 days.
Wow.
And then it's not an hour and a half like we did the other day, but it turns into 10 to 15 minutes of a breathwork session, just to get you more familiar with the different styles of breathwork and the different effects that come to the body and mind when you're doing the different types. And then I was sold. I was all on board.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. So, what has your certification entailed?
It is a 10-week certification course, and I had to do 20 hours of facilitating and coaching, and I was doing it all over Zoom. And just because I didn't have really a location to go, and I'm out in the very rural East Texas, so um, like breath work, that seems kind of satanic. Like, what do you mean?
It's so funny how uncomfortable people get with anything that is just different. And it's not different, it's literally breathing. We've been
Mm-hmm.
doing it since we were born.
Right, absolutely. And it's the word for breath and the word for spirit in a few different languages are the same thing. So like in Hebrew, it's ruach, so it's
Yes.
God fashioned man from the dust of the earth, and he ruach, or he breathed into man, ruach, and he became a living being, the Adam, right? And and then in Sanskrit, uh, it's the same thing. Uh, the word for spirit and the word for breath. So prana, and that's why you have the breathwork style from the East Indian area, which is called pranayama. And so more people have heard about pranayama, and of course the Wim Hof and stuff like that. But yeah, there's a really powerful connection with our breath and our physical and mental well-being, as you well experienced.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I would like, that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to have this conversation, because I wanted to share with everyone my experience.
Yeah.
Um, and I really had experienced the Wim Hof breathing. I got the app, years ago, and had some positive benefits. It definitely didn't hurt me. It helped me. It helped me get into a deeper meditative state. Um, but it wasn't a transformation like I experienced yesterday. Whenever we had our session yesterday, it was an hour and a half session, and it was. I said to you afterwards, it was like, number one, it was like going on vacation. Like it was like I went on vacation in that hour and a half. Like I literally transported to like somewhere else. So it was a very enjoyable experience. Um, I should say though, it wasn't at first. The first like 15 minutes or 10 minutes, it was work. It was
Mhm.
like, I can't wait till this is over. It was almost like exercising, like not like a torture, but it was just like, I'm very aware that I'm thinking about my breathing, that I'm thinking about my body. I was feeling sensations on my body. I was just like, I can't wait till this is over. I'm going to go take a nap after this. And then it like crossed this threshold and I
Mhm.
didn't want it to end. Like
Yeah.
it was transformative. Like it literally transported me to another place. Um,
Right.
and so I was on vacation, and then as I was on vacation, it was like we went to these different spots on the vacation, like all these different stations almost. And at each station, I had a significant healing at each of the stations. And it felt like I went through 8 years of therapy. And I am not saying this flippantly. I am not saying this lightly. Like it literally went into, like, we visited the early 80s. We literally went into the early 80s when I was a young child, when I
Mhm.
was in like 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 2-year-old, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like all throughout those, and then into my teens, and then into my adult years. And it really was therapeutic. But we didn't say anything. Like it was crazy how I went on this experience, on this journey in my mind just by breathing. And there were the in the headphones, there were suggestive things that they were saying that kind of like kept my thoughts in in a place that was helpful and therapeutic. And so that was really grateful. It was kind of like bowling with the bumpers on. Like I felt like I went into these painful spots, but I didn't go into any kind of a negative or a detrimental space. I was safe. And one of the things that I told you afterwards was I was so grateful that the whole time you were watching me. And so the way that we did it was we did it on Zoom, and I set up my camera so that you could watch me because I had to lay down to do this. And so I laid down so that you could watch my breaths. You could watch to make sure that I did not stop breathing and that I was breathing within the rhythm of the plan. And there was something very healing about knowing that I wasn't alone and that somebody very caring was watching me and not judging me. Like there were some points where my body was like twitching, my arms were like twitching, and I felt so safe. Like I just felt like Kevin is here, and Kevin is not judging me, and Kevin is loving me through this process. And then by the end of it, I was just like ridiculously high. Like I was just so happy because I released so much. I released years and years and years of trauma. And I felt so light afterwards. And I haven't done drugs for over 20 years, but it felt like I had taken something because it was like I I experienced this just joy. just pure joy, and love for myself. Like the love for myself was next level. I don't think I have ever loved myself more than I did in that hour and a half. And it has
Oh,
stayed. It has stayed.
even the next day.
Yes. Yes.
Wow. Yeah, so like we followed up there at the end of that session, but I haven't really followed up with you this day now, the day after, to check up and see how you're doing. So that's really great to hear this feedback. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was such an out of body experience that I wanted to make sure and write down some key notes so that I didn't forget. Um, because it was almost like I went to another planet and came back to Earth. And so I was just like, I don't want to get caught up in the fact that I have to do dishes and I got to do laundry and I got to, do the regular stuff. I don't want to forget this moment. And so I just have a little note in my phone of these key little things that I could tell you and you would be like, what does that mean? But I remember those moments. I remember the healing that happened in those moments. And so I've looked over that list a couple of times and just like, that's right. That's right. The healing is done. It's there.
Fantastic. That is the best feedback that I've gotten so far. And I went and I did 20 hours of coaching, just I call it my clinical hours. Before I could actually say that I'm a certified coach, I was just doing 20 hours of the coaching, and I've had good feedback, but your feedback is the most lucid and most well defined. And
Well, and
I also have more of a, like, we've been friends for just over 2 years now. So we've been in touch and we have some level of rapport already.
I
So
would even argue that I have been on this journey of really clearing out my temple, my body,
mhm.
in that I don't have toxins in my body to inhibit me from hitting those high spiritual levels. And so I would argue that the way that we eat has really prepared me for having such an experience in an hour and a half. And I mean, I've been on a spiritual journey now, for ever since 2020,
Mhm.
meditating and everything, but I have never experienced something like this. And I liken it to some of the stories that I've heard about like ayahuasca. And because it was almost like the breath started breathing me.
Yeah,
And I was just like, I was I was in control in the moment, but I was not driving.
right,
And it was driving to these points. Like I didn't know that I needed to heal from different things in my childhood. I didn't even know that these beliefs were in me until the breath navigated me to that area and then loved me, like just loved me. Like I was dripping in love from God, from, my essence, from my breath. Like the spirit was so encompassing into every nook and cranny of whatever that moment was. And and then it was just like this big hug, like this just big hug. And then it was like, okay, good job. Let's go to the next station. And I literally went to like 6 different, like huge pains and wounds and just healed them instantly like that. And it was transformational. It was absolutely transformational.
oh, that's fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah.
and a lot of people have gone, my volunteers and clients, they've relayed a similar thing. One, that was trippy as heck.
Yes, it was.
And two, that it felt like years of therapy being done in 90 minutes. And that's
Mm.
just like the level of value in this modality is just level above and beyond.
I felt like I hit the lottery. I felt like
Well,
it was more joy than I could even like hold. Like I felt like I was sitting in front of one of those slot machines where like I just couldn't even catch all the coins. Like I was just overwhelmed. And I finally just got to the point where I was just like, I'm just going to dance in this slot machine because it's just pouring out coins of joy and healing over me. And I'm just going to relish in this moment. And I didn't even have to hold all of it. It just, it inundated everything. And it just flowed. It was just a flowing peace and a flowing joy. And I mean, I have my master's in clinical counseling. I practiced as a therapist, and now I practice as a coach, and I'm so much more effective as a coach than I ever was as a therapist because I can talk about food. But what you're doing is next level. It is far beyond the healing that I've gotten from food, and it is something that has to be talked about. Because what I loved about it is I didn't have to tell you my deepest, darkest secrets. I didn't have to tell you anything. And you ushered me into the healing. Like I literally felt like you escorted me into the holy of holies. And you let me walk in. And then I was in this privacy because you couldn't see my thoughts. You couldn't
right.
hear my thoughts. And so you didn't know what I was experiencing, but you were a witness. And then you escorted me back out. And it was just like, okay, Kevin doesn't even need to know all of the dirty laundry that I just aired and that I just absolved. And I was still able to have that healing. And so that was so powerful.
Excellent. I'm so glad that you had such a good response to that.
I really did. And so how can other people, anyone who's listening to this is just like, I got to try this. How can they work with you? Are there different levels? Like, I mean, should they start with like a tiny experience, or can they just jump in, or should they have something that's like an ongoing package? Because I already feel myself going, when can I do that again?
Yeah. So for it really depends on the individual, right? So you've done the Wim Hof breathing and you're familiar vaguely with breath work, just at a like a top level view, right?
Yeah.
And so if somebody has never heard of breath work and they're like, I've been breathing my whole life, how is this any different? Then, then we'll want to go and start something that's I'd say a lighter, but I mean, all of the levels have their own impact.
Yeah.
So, but the five primal trauma, primary trauma imprints that we did yesterday,
Yeah. Say that
that's
again. We did 5.
the five primary trauma imprints.
Okay. That's what we did. And that was so powerful.
Yeah, and so if somebody is at that total beginner, has no clue of what this is about, I wouldn't start with that one
Got it.
just because that's pretty heavy. Um, I also understand that you have the the counseling experience, and all of that. So, you've seen the deep, dark stuff with your clients,
Yeah.
right? And so you're already familiar with that. So you were also able to slip into that space of knowing that you were safe, and I could just be an empathic witness and hold that space for you as we're
Yes.
going through that. And so I felt safe doing the 5 primary trauma imprints with you for that journey. If somebody's brand new, I would probably go with something a little lighter, that's not just like rip your soul out and hit it with a power washer.
That's what it felt like. It was so good though. It was so good.
Yeah. But for your viewers that are wanting to find out more about this, they can find me on Instagram as @scholarly changeworks, all one word.
Awesome. And we will definitely put that link in this video. And then just because I think it's important to just be transparent. What are the costs? Because I think that so many times people hear these things and then they're like, yeah, but what's the cost? Because it is significantly cheaper than therapy. It is
Right.
significantly cheaper than therapy. I have had therapists that are $150 for one session, and I have to see them every week. And so
Mm.
$150 times 4 times 5, like that's a lot of money. And there was no resolution. There was
Ah,
no resolution. What you do, I mean, it was like a succinct process. Like you took me into the healing and then brought me back out of it. And it was just like this complete work. It wasn't like you left me hanging with this open wound. And
and we'll see
so,
see you next week, right?
yeah, or sorry, our time is up. Like it was just
Oh,
like I said, you escorted me and then you escorted me back. And it was just like, huh, it was absolutely amazing. Way better than therapy. So I'm sorry. So this is so much cheaper than therapy. So go ahead. How much, what's your pricing?
so so for doing there's different levels, different tiers. So if I'm doing a group session with like 5 or 6 people, then that will be less per person. So it'll be that turns into a $50 per person for the same length of time, and
Wow.
then the resolution is going to be a bit longer, just because dealing with all the different people that are helping out. Um, for one-on-one, like we did, then that would be starting at 130 for the session, but then also doing whole packages like you were mentioning, so that people can go through the different journeys and dealing with the different types of traumas and the different hangups that they have in their lives, and all of that. And then it will be a package for 5, but at the price of 4. So you get a free session in with that.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And I can't emphasize enough how powerful it was that I went into the darkest of the darkest of the darkest things.
Mhm.
And I didn't have to tell you about it. And
Right.
you didn't have to witness that. I didn't have to be uncomfortable, but I was held. Like
Mhm.
I was protected in that moment going into that dark, dark place. And I knew that I had a witness there with me. I knew that I was not alone. And um, what I think happens so often in therapy is that we reveal our wounds, our big ugly things,
Mhm.
and then the therapist can have like a different facial expression or tone in
Mhm.
their voice or a body
Right.
language.
Right.
And we're so on edge with our wound that we're just like, oh my gosh, like you're judging me, aren't you? Like, you know what I mean? And And so that's why I think this is so safe and this is so healing, because there's so many people who really don't want to tell anyone ever. They don't even want to remember what happened to them. So I love this because it is the safest form of therapy I can ever experience and to share with everybody.
Well,
Um,
and so like I've been doing the hypnotherapy since 2016, and I experienced that very same thing where, them going into trance is a little bumpier because they're not ready to just reveal and deal with stuff. And they're afraid of how I will judge them. And I will always do the the pre-talk where I talk with, let's say you, Emily, you're my client, right? And I would say, Emily, I want you to know that I hold you in unconditional positive regard.
mm,
And and so for some people that was really good, but some other people just still, they're like, oh, but you don't know. You don't even know, man. It's like, I know I don't know, but I want to let you know that that is how we are framing this, that I hold you in unconditional positive regard. So, and all that. So, but this with the breath work, again, we didn't have to talk about it. You didn't have to reveal your deepest, darkest secrets. Um, you could feel them, you could experience them. And, because feeling is healing, right? And so you didn't have to relive your trauma. You just had to have that willingness to be able to feel that, because that feel is stored in the body. The body keeps the score, right?
yeah.
And so by going and doing the breath work, you get into that space where your frontal lobe is got reduced blood flow. And so and that's the part where the first 15 minutes where you were telling yourself, oh man, when are we done? Oh, this is just a crock of crap, you know, and all of that. Well, I mean, that's your monkey mind. That's your rational mind. That's just saying, hey, no, we've got these other things we need to be doing. I got an appointment, later on I got to be ready for, or whatever. And but then after that, once you cross the Rubicon there with the breath work and the breath starts breathing you instead of you breathing the breath, then your monkey mind is quieted and the subconscious is able to go and experience the tensions in the body and pains that we've locked inside our very being for all of these years. So,
Yes, yes. And it was so powerful and so amazing. And I didn't know what to expect. But it far exceeded any of my expectation. Um, and and then afterwards, I I sat there in just bliss, like in just bliss, going, how fortunate am I to have Kevin in my life and to have Kevin be on this journey and to have Kevin take me along to be part of his, certification or his practice. And then that we get to go tell people. Like, I was so
right,
excited that you were willing to do this interview to go tell people about this, because
absolutely.
you know, we want that no one should suffer. We
Right.
want that no one should be lost in their trauma. And and it is our heart that there's no obstacle. And so I really wanted to present this to everyone, to say, there is healing here for you. And you don't have to go to years of therapy, like years of therapy.
Mhm.
I cannot believe how efficient this experience was. It was crazy.
Even over Zoom.
Even over Zoom. Even over Zoom. Like it was crazy. And then I was laying there, and my kid came in, opened the door, and uh he saw me, laid out, and he saw me with the headphones attached to the phone, And he just silently like walked back out of the room. And I talked to him later, and I was like, "Hey, did you need something?" He goes, "Yeah, but I could tell you were doing something." And I was just like, "Okay, cool." Like, it was such a unique experience. It was so awesome. And I am I cannot wait to hear the way that this unfolds for the world. I want to be like on the front row seat, like hearing from you how this transforms other people's lives. Um, and I'm definitely coming back. Like I am gonna find a way to come back and to do more. Because if I could get that much done in an hour and a half, how much more can I get done? There's got to be more healing in me that
Right.
needs to happen. And I need to be a clean and pure vessel so that whenever I come to minister to my clients, that I'm not coming gunked up, that like I've been pressure washed, you know? And I want to be able to be that clean and useful vessel for them. So thank you so much for this healing and for giving me this gift, this lottery win of extensive therapy.
Thank you for being willing to be vulnerable enough to be in that situation and partake in this, because it's vulnerability plus safety equals healing.
Mm,
Vulnerability without safety is further repression and further trauma, compounding on that. So thank you for being willing to be vulnerable and to participate whole hog into this process. So, but
yeah.
but you had mentioned about you know doing the layers or peeling off the layers of the trauma and everything. And so like this is a phenomenal, this one session that you had, it was a phenomenal healing and release and resolution. But oh, who is it? Shrek would say, trauma is like onions. It has layers.
Yes.
So and so it's so now I've got the whole hashtag peel that onion.
Yes. 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 And it just keeps getting better. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And I think we don't even have in our brains, our conscious brains, we don't even have the capacity to understand how much better it can get.
Right.
Like
If we
there's so
if we
much
don't
more.
if we don't have the experiential knowledge, then it's a total unknown, and then the subconscious, anything that's unknown is perceived of as pain. Anything that is known is perceived as pleasure. And they say that we seek pleasure and avoid pain, but that's inverse in order. I mean, that's just a different order. The human mind, the subconscious, will avoid pain so much more prioritized, so that if we are not in a state of pain, we will start to recognize that and identify that as its own pleasure.
Wow. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. And I had no idea, going into this, how much we could have gotten done. Like in a million years, I wouldn't have thought. Like I thought, oh, Kevin's great. This is going to be a warm and fuzzy little experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had no idea the depths that this was capable of going to, and the resolution. Like
Yeah.
there was just so much resolution. There was so much just, I was able to see my trauma for what it is. I was able to see my trauma through the eye. I would argue through the eyes of God, that I was able to see my
Mm-hmm.
trauma and realize that number one, I am loved. And number two, that it was not my fault. And that was so healing. That was so healing to realize that I'm just this baby girl who experienced trauma, and we're just going to dust her off, and we're going to, like, she's whole again. Like, she's healed, she's whole, and she's ready to go take on the world. Like, you just set me free, totally set me free.
Wow. That is a very high honor.
I'm so excited. So I'm going to put in the show notes where to reach you. Is there anything else that you want to say to somebody who is considering this breath work?
If somebody is like totally unaware of the breath work and everything that's involved with it, and just how powerful it can be, I do have a 12-minute session that I share with people, and so that way they can start to get, okay, this is the type of breathing. We're going to do it for 12 minutes, and we'll get kind of a little bit of an effect, but that's just a teaser taster. And
Awesome.
so just reach out to me on Instagram, and I'll get you hooked up.
So how much is that $12 teaser?
So that is a $22 for that.
That's awesome.
So
That's awesome. Like, everybody has $22, or you can at
right.
least save up $22 in a
Mm-hmm.
month. You know what I mean? Like, that's really meeting people where they're at. So if you guys are watching this, save up your $22, go get that teaser and just see what this is like. Or get a group of friends and do it for $50. Like, that's
Mm-hmm.
the really cool part is I could have done this with a room of like 5 other people and been totally fine, or not even a room, a Zoom meeting with
Mm-hmm.
5 other people, and we're all laying down and you're witnessing and watching our breath. And I could have had this same experience and not had to share with the whole room my trauma.
Right.
That's amazing. So yeah, get some friends and do a group for $50. Like, that's amazing.
Excellent.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin. You have been such a gift in my life, and now you're a gift to others. And I cannot wait to just share you with the world.
All right. And I look forward to how that's going to influence your coaching, your clients, because I mean, it's a ripple. You drop a rock in the pond and it's going to ripple out in 360 all the way around until it gets to the shore. And then it'll start to kind of come back a little bit. But yeah, so you think that that was powerful for you? I'm excited to see how that is going to affect your coaching clients,
Mm,
and just having that further effect, just spreading out. So I'm very excited for this.
absolutely. Me too. Thank you so much, Kevin. I will talk to you soon.
All right, be well.
Bye.